Welcome back to Unpaid Film Critic, and today I'm going to review Superman. This film, one of the things I like about this film is that one, it cuts out the classic story of Superman lands on Earth, grows up in Kansas, goes to Metropolis, gets a job at the Daily Planet, meets Lois, reveals his identity to Lois, reveals his identity to Metropolis. This is just he's been Superman for a while. He's been Superman for a good 10 years. Not really 10 years, but he's been a good, because they say 3 decades ago he landed. So I'm guessing he's around 30, so he's been around probably 5, he's been Superman for a while, and widely known Superman for a little bit more than 1 year probably, give or take, or 3 months. And I think it's more like 3, I remember it was 3 months, but in this film, it talks about being a good person. And that's something that's hard to go by these days. Because apparently the right-wing media called this film woke, because apparently being a good person means woke. And to that, I don't know what to think. Normally I can debate with people, but at this time and point, it's hard to debate with people when you have no morals. Or basic ethics, at least. But aside from that, there is scenes in this film that are bleak, that are sometimes hard to watch because they probably will hit close to nowadays politics in the U.S. with fake news and funding genocidal countries. But what I like about this film is that it shows it shows what it means to be a good person. And it also shows shows you what healthy masculinity looks like. What it means to be a good man, which is stand up for what's right, no matter the consequences. And that's good. That's good we're getting films like that. And you're wondering, well, what are the things that hits home? What are the harder hitting political topics it talks about? Well, it talks about, in the film, there are 2 made-up countries. I'm going to describe one and describe the other, and, well, you read between the lines if you can. If you can't, well, there is the newspapers and proper news channels that you can get your information from. Also, the internet exists, so we live in a time of the internet, so, yeah. Or if you're ever on Instagram, scroll enough times, and you'll probably find issues like this being talked about. But in the film, there is a made-up country that the U.S. has been funding called Moravia. It's very European-esque, but it's in the Middle East. And right now, they're at war with their neighbor, Jaranpur. Now, Jaranpur doesn't have a military. Can't even defend themselves. They are probably getting wiped off the map by an increased military presence of another country, pushing down on its borders, pushing people out. And, well, if you read between the lines, you kind of know what I'm hinting at. And for those who don't know, well, it's, I'm just going to say it right now. The way I view it is it views the Israeli-Palestine conflict. And Superman stops it. He stops the brave military from going into Jaranpur. he even threatens their prime minister by pushing, and this is, you don't see this, they talk about this, and he pushes him up against a cactus out in the desert. Basically says, hey, please, stop this. Be a good leader. And a good way into the film, him and Lois, she wants to interview him as Superman, basically because he's been interviewing himself as Superman for quite some time, and in this film, they're talking about him more. They have good banter, and then he instantly switches vocally to Superman as the interview starts. And in the interview, he says, I did what I had to do because people were going to die. He was thinking about it, not as he was fighting crime, or he wanted to fight evil. He wanted to be a hero. He wanted to save people. It seems more or less like a firefighter's approach, which I love, because that is what I think he is. And some other scenes in this film, like there's a scene when he's fighting a huge kaiju, and he's fighting it, but he's also going around and being a good person, making sure everyone's okay, and making sure it causes as little damage to the city as it actually does. And that's just the Superman part of the film. The other part of the film, I like to call the Jimmy part. Now you're asking me, who is this Jimmy? Well, I'm just going to tell you, it is Jimmy Olsen. He is the charisma lord of this film. He has the charisma. He's pulling people. He's able to pull people to get information from them because they like him, and he doesn't even care. He's focused on writing papers. Like this film, I know it's comedy, but this guy, he has skill. This guy is just, I just can't wait to see more Jimmy. I just hope that Jimmy's in more stuff, because Jimmy Olsen's character is definitely the breath of fresh air and the calmness to the film that it truly is, and I love it for it. And this film also tackles what black sites are. See, black site off the books prisons that are getting built. Where you put dysenteries, people you don't disagree with. I wonder. I think the U.S. could be making those in Florida. I think. Looks like we have our own black site prison where we put people who we disagree with. Or when I say we, I mean the U.S. government. Okay. Yeah, the U.S. government wants to play. Yeah. Yeah, this film is so unique that, like, yes, it tries to be fantasy and make-believe because it's a comic book movie, but the stuff going on in this film is so uniquely relevant to what we're going through right now in the U.S. I just think that that's so interesting as a power film. That a film that is make-believe could instantly just make a story that could easily be seen right now, and people instantly feel like, oh yeah, that stuff is happening right now as we speak. I mean, that is the power of filmmaking. Filmmaking is able to bring problems, or able to tell stories that involve stuff that is relevant. And, well, I thought it was great. I thought this film was a good, feel-good summer film with heart, integrity, and enjoyment. But it also talked about harsh issues. It talks about prisons, imprisoning people for doing the right thing. It talks about the powers of the actions of your parents don't reflect the actions of you. And that's what I think is unique. I'm not explaining why, but I'm just saying that this film really talks about the found family part of Superman, which I thought it was so interesting because the Kents really molded Superman into who he is. Now you're asking me why. Well, Mike, take Homelander for instance. Homelander was born in a lab, but has the same problems as Superman. That really shows you that just because you have all that power, it takes on where you're raised in to be good. I mean, not to be good, but it's all about, it shows you that where you're raised in shows who you are more than who you are, than how you look. It really has that nature versus nurture kind of viewpoint, which I think is unique. That's my review of Superman. Please watch it in theaters, or please watch anything in theaters right now, because I think theaters need money, because theaters are dying, because of streaming services are monopolizing and making shorter releases for films, or making no releases for some films, and yeah, please watch it in theaters, or watch any movie you can in theaters. Please go to theater. Theaters need money. I mean, I know this sounds very capitalistic, but right now, the way streaming services are going, I think the theaters are on the way out, which are sad, because for me, theaters are the happy place. They're my meditation. They're my escapism from the real world. But yeah, that's just me. That's just how I viewed Superman. I thought it was a unique film, and I enjoyed it. I cannot wait for the next films coming out this month, and the next 2 months after that. I will also have reviews coming out for both Ballerina and Jurassic Park Rebirth coming out soon, so please pay attention to that. Also, if you're not registered, please register to vote. Midterms are next week, or not next week, but midterms start next year, and please vote in those midterms. Midterms are very important. I know that normally, just please register to vote. Your vote matters no matter what. No matter if it's the governor, any level of government. Vote in every election you can, because your vote can change the difference. That's what I have to say. Also, be great people, be kind, and yes. That's all I have to say. Have a great Sunday.